I'm learning Danish. And when you're learning Danish or any other language, you become a child again because you have to form associations in your brain that a child would have to make when they learn their own native language. That's how a child approaches language. And that is where I am in the process of learning Danish. I am quite literally a babe in the woods. And because I am at that childhood stage of learning a language, friends of mine have approached me and said, well, if you are thinking like a child, perhaps you should be using the appropriate material to approach the Danish language as a child. And they suggested that I look at children's TV and children's books. I got one. It's the Chocolate Cloud. I got a copy in Danish and the English language so I could read both at the same time. The book starts, Du er så tuk. Yes, that's what it says, and it continues. Henry said as he looked up from his favorite book. It's a story about Henry who lives in Sugarland. And everyone who lives in Sugarland is overweight because the only thing they have to eat is sweet things. And then Henry goes on a journey to Veddington, the Vegan Woods, Fruitopolis, Barebone Island, and sees that a more diverse, non-sugar diet is healthier for a person. A ripping good story. And it got my girlfriend and I to eat more vegetables. Then I went on a quest to find children's TV shows. And I went on the website DR, which is Danish Broadcasting Production Company, and I found a whole bunch of them, like Little North, the Dino Ranch, Wild Crow. But for some reason, I couldn't access these interesting shows. I think it's because I'm not in Denmark. The only children's Danish show that I could find and watch was John Dillermand, which is about a man who has a massive penis. And it's not just a large penis, it's a red and white striped penis, and it has the ability to do things. It's almost like a fifth limb. And they have him do things with this massive red and white penis. For example, he can walk his dog as though it's a leash. He can use it as a whip to train a lion. He even can fish things like a bicycle out of the sea. The producers of the show, the producers and the writers of the show, were very inventive in coming up with various scenarios and various things for John Dillermand and his red and white striped penis to perform. Now, I couldn't believe that Denmark, the production companies in Denmark, would air such a children's show. So I emailed my girlfriend, and she emailed me back and says, "Fraid so, John Wee Wee. I'm surprised they didn't tell you about Uncle Shrimp." Uncle Shrimp actually makes John Dillermand look tame because Uncle Shrimp is a real person, not an animated character. And he gets into all sorts of exploits. For example, I saw one picture of him dancing with a toilet and accompanied with several dozen toilet brushes. And apparently in the last couple of seasons, he's become pregnant. Yes, a man with a beard who is pregnant. Yes, this Uncle Shrimp and this John Dillermand are incredibly interesting characters invented by the Danish mind. Now, I don't think I would put it on TV, but I have to tell you, I'm actually secretly chuckling that someone else did. Now, I'm not one for censorship. And as long as some decent people think it should be on TV, well, you can put it on TV. As long as you don't have malicious intent. And if you don't want to watch it, well, then you don't have to tune in. I've always imagined these people who find something so offensive and yet have to watch it. They're either masochists or sadists or a combination of the both. But then when I started to think about these I would call them fringe characters, but they really weren't that fringe characters. I got to think, boy, these Danish people are willing to explore those edges wherever they are. In America, they try to keep you square in the middle so they can sell you pretzels and soda pop and cars. But these Danish people, they're willing to really explore. I mean, they still have some of their Viking inside of them. And it made me start to think, well, these Danes like to explore. They like to communicate. They like to use their language to explore things. So I think it's baked into their language. So I suspect that the more progress I make in learning Danish and becoming more fluent, I don't know if I'll ever become fluent, but I'll become more knowledgeable about the Danish language. It will affect me in the same ways that the minds that created the interesting stuff, and there is other interesting stuff than John Dillerman and his red and white thingamajig that goes and picks up bicycles in the sea, or Uncle Shrimp. But the Danish language and the Danish people, they showed me that there is an exhilaration, a sense of exploration, a sense of we will not just be content to take the same path to do things as everyone else does. And it was at that point that I started to realize there is something very curious about the Danish language. And I started to become curious, like a child. And I started to think, I'm starting to approach the Danish language as a child would, with that kind of curiosity that as I learn more things, I will learn more about the world. I will explore the world. So now I am ready. I can now truly approach the Danish language, not just with the novelty that a child has, but also the enthusiasm. And that is going to make this process not just easier, but more fulfilling. Thank you kindly.